The J8CM has 4 addressing modes. If you look at the near the bottom of the screen, you can see I have the instruction word format laid out there. You see I have the first 5 bits, 0 through 4, make up the opcode, and then bits 5 and 6 are the bits that make up the addressing mode. Um, the J8CM can be set to memory direct, memory indirect, register direct, and register indirect. And I'm going to go ahead and demonstrate those. If you look to the right, I have the assembly code that I wrote, and it's already been loaded into the computer model. And just kind of going through it real quickly, I have some data already assigned in memory, and then I have um, some labels here for some of the other data that'll be loaded into the registers. The spreadsheet here will help us uh, identify what goes in. It can get kind of confusing when you're doing all this different indirect addressing mode. So I made the spreadsheet to kind of help us track what should show up in the accumulator and when. So just going up, I'm going to step through the first few instructions. They're going to load the X register and the Y register. So we'll load the X register with 32 and then the Y register with 56. And then we'll put a bit pattern into the accumulator when we do this load memory direct mode. So let's do it here. Step, you can see I loaded the accumulator, or excuse me, the X register with 32. Here's our instruction up here for loading the X register. Step through the next one. The Y register now has a value of 56. Again, there's the instruction up in the instruction register. Next, we'll load the accumulator with that bit pattern. I'll step through that. So that was that was memory direct mode. So we loaded the accumulator um, with the data 170 that is in the location with labeled as C, which is memory location 66. The 170 gives us the alternating ones and zeros bit pattern in the accumulator. Next step is to go ahead and clear the accumulator. And then I'm going to, our next instruction will be this um, load F, and that's the parentheses indicate that it's memory indirect. So we'll go to the memory location labeled with the F, and we'll look at the contents, and that's going to tell us to go to memory location 128 and load the accumulator with the data that is in memory location 128. If you see down here, I have the origin statement for 128, and I have 255 loaded in there, so it's all ones. I'm going to go ahead and do a fetch first, and we can see that um, our operand has, if you saw some of my other presentations, you'll recognize maybe that when this bit is set, bit number 2, um, that's a decimal 4, that's our code for loading the accumulator. And now we have bit 5 set, and that tells us that we're using memory indirect mode. So we'll see that the memory address register, in fact, will have a 128 set in here probably when I do this execute. And you can see, yep, the memory address register went to 128. So it went to 128 and it loaded all ones into the accumulator. We'll go ahead and step through the next one. That's to clear out the accumulator. And then our next instruction says to load the accumulator with its register direct mode. So it's going to load the accumulator with the contents of the X register, which is right here. It's going to load that 32 in there. We'll go ahead and do a fetch. Again, we have load the accumulator, and now we have bit 6 set, which tells us that it's register mode, and we have a 0 in bit 5, so that's direct. So we're register direct. We're going to load 32 into the accumulator, execute, and you can see that in fact we have. I'll go ahead and step through the clear to clear out the accumulator, and then our next instruction will be to load the accumulator with in the register indirect mode. Again, the parentheses indicate that. So we'll go ahead and do a fetch. Well, again, we have our load the accumulator here, and now we have bits 5 and 6 set. 5 tells us it's indirect mode, and 6 tells us that it's register mode. So what we'll do is we'll go to the X register, we'll look and see that it says location 32 is the location we want. Location 32, going back to the org statement, wherever I had it right there. So 240, which is this bit pattern, so we should see 11110000 when we execute, and we do. No surprise there. If that didn't work, I wouldn't have recorded it. Next, we'll go ahead and step and clear the accumulator, and now we'll do register direct mode, this time the Y register. So I'll fetch the instruction. Again, there's our opcode of decimal 4, and we're in register mode because bit 6 is set, and then bit 7 tells us when we're in register mode, it tells us whether we're selecting from register X or register Y. When it's a 1, it means we're using register Y. So we should see 56 from register Y loaded into the accumulator when I hit execute, and we do. Next step is to clear the accumulator. And then here we'll do memory indirect from the Y register. So we will look in the Y register, we'll see 56, we'll go to 56, and we have a bit pattern here. It looks like it's a 15. So I'll go ahead and do the fetch. Again, here we go. Load the accumulator, register indirect, and then that indicates it's register Y. And I'll go ahead and execute that. And there's our bit pattern, our 15 that we found in location 56, which was pointed to by the data that we had in the Y register. And then I just went ahead, and this last instruction shows how we can use register indirect to load the other register. So I'll go ahead and just step there, and oh, I guess I had to clear the accumulator. Then I'll step, and we'll load, again, location 56 as pointed to by the Y register. Now we've loaded that into the X register. And that is how memory addressing works in the J8CM. I hope you enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching.